Okay, so, hi. Not going to apologize for the light because we're not doing makeup today. This is just a video that I feel like doing because it's been really coming up a lot with me lately. So I'm going to talk about it and maybe you'll learn something from it too. So if you haven't deciphered already from the title, this is about a trait called high sensitivity. And I want to talk about it because it does affect everything that I do and think. And I honestly didn't know anything about it until, 4 months ago. Talking to my therapist, and she actually brought it up one day, and she was like, have you ever heard of a trait called high sensitivity? And I go, well, no. And she brought out her many books on the subject and decided to, and read the definition to me, which I'm going to read that to you as well. So the actual definition of a highly sensitive person is someone who processes sensory data more deeply due to the biological nature of their nervous systems. This depth of processing underlies highly sensitive persons' greater proclivity to overstimulation, emotional reactivity and empathy, and oversensitivity or just sensitivity to stimuli. Basically what that means is that a highly sensitive person is someone who just takes in more than the average person. It's also not to say that they are someone who like cries at the drop of a hat, or you can't look at them wrong, or they'll cry. It's not that type of sensitive. And for those out there who would argue there's no such thing as a highly sensitive person and you're just overreacting to everything and you need to calm down, my answer to you would be is to and am not, respectively. When I first found out about the trait, I was blown back, actually, because it explained a lot in my life and how I deal with situations and how I read situations. But even still, like, my definition of the trait is medically, I'm an asshole. Like, I don't know, I know that's not probably the healthy way to look at it, and it's not that I mean to be. I didn't know about anything of this until a few months ago. It's just that I am. And and that's not to say everyone who's a highly sensitive person is an asshole. No, that's just how I perceive at the moment right now, like 30 years of being this kind of person and not knowing it. So when I look back on everything and think about, man, how's an asshole, that's what I think about it. Because I had no idea, nobody knew. This study was put forth and pursued by Dr. Elaine Aron and her husband, I believe. However, I believe she was the main person studying it. And it came about in the 1990s, and it has been studied ever since, at least by her, but not many people give it much attention. I will say that some things it is not. It is not a condition, it's not a disorder, it's also not a diagnosis. It is literally, it's a neutral trait that about 20% of the population have. And basically what it is, it's an evolved survival advantage. It's not always an advantage. Where highly sensitive people just process stimuli, their surroundings more thoroughly than about 80% of the population. However, that can lead to overstimulation and also overprocessing in the wrong time. It's hard to describe to someone who's not a highly sensitive person, but if you find that this kind of starts making sense, it might be something that you want to look into. There is a questionnaire on Dr. Elaine Aron's website, her hsperson.com. I'll have the links down below. There is a questionnaire on her website where you can answer those questions and see how you are in the scope of high sensitivity. There are 27 questions, and if you were to say yes to 14 of them, it's possible that you might be a highly sensitive person, and you may want to look into more research and studies, or talk to your licensed professional about the possibility of being a highly sensitive person. I answered yes to 25 of the 27 questions. So yeah, I would say I'm a highly sensitive person. If you're not sure, there is an acronym called DOES that you can kind of ask yourself or someone in your life if you think they might be highly sensitive, and it kind of helps you answer more accurately the question of if you are not highly sensitive. And it stands for the depth of processing. So it's someone who takes a longer time to make decisions because they are constantly looking at all the pros and cons, the consequences, the outcomes of the situation. They're looking at every single possibility. There's more to it, but I'm just going to go through them real fast. There's overstimulation, sight, smells, sounds, situations, outside, inside, all kind of things. If some of these things are just too much, then it's possible that you might be highly sensitive. Their emotional responsiveness and empathy, feeling for others in a way that is deeper than the norm, as in, if you feel it, I feel it too, and I don't have a choice in the matter. And sensitivity to subtleties. Can you pick up slight things in your environment that maybe other people can't? So you can read your situation a bit better. If you have company and they seem to be uncomfortable but no one wants to say why, can you tell why they're uncomfortable and fix it, and things like that. It is not to be mistaken with sensory processing disorder. That is an actual disorder, and it is completely different. So don't assume that highly sensitivity means sensory processing disorder. That is something completely in its own category, completely different. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to put it out there in a way that I'm comfortable with, that I am highly sensitive when it comes to things, people, situations, surroundings, sights, smells, tastes, colors, art, music, voices, things like that. And for the longest time I thought I was just crazy. And I might, I'm not crazy, obviously. And I'm not self-diagnosed. Do not self-diagnose, because it is probably the dumbest thing you can do. And if you were to come to me and say, well, I'm this, and this, and if I were to ask you, well, how do you know that? Who did you see? How did that come about? And you say, well, I read something online, you are dumb. You are stupid. Go see a professional. And I say that because there are many traits that we share of certain disorders that does not make us someone who has that disorder. We all have tendencies that are shared, but it does not mean you have that disorder. How I mean, like, for example, I do have anxiety. Generalized anxiety, meaning across the board, I'm anxious about everything. I do have major depression. I'm sad about everything, basically. I don't know, there's not a nice way to say that. And when I was younger, and the two butted heads and came about at the same time, it would lead to severe insomnia, meaning that my insomnia was so great that I would not sleep for 5 days. I might catch a cat nap 10, 20 minutes or so at night or in school, but I never had full REM sleep for those 5 days, which is what you need to be healthy. The insomnia was so bad that yes, I would be getting heart palpitations, I would have a constant headache, my body hurt, my mind hurt. I was not thinking clearly, I would stumble and fall a lot. I became known to be very clumsy. And then also, I would hallucinate horribly, horrific hallucinations. My doctor at the time, who was giving me my medications for my whatever was going on, said that I'm schizophrenic and put me on antipsychotics. I was not schizophrenic. I just had schizophrenic tendencies due to my anxiety and depression conflicting with each other at the same time. So that is what I mean. If someone who was a bit more ignorant had the experiences that I did, they might say, well, I'm schizophrenic. No, you're not. I mean, you might be, but most likely you're not. It is not as common as most everyone thinks it is. It's also not fun. So that's just my little rant about that. Do not self-diagnose. It is stupid. If you really think you have these issues and they are messing with your life, do your best to either do your research fully or talk to a professional. Do not self-diagnose. It's not okay. And it's insulting for the rest of us. So my high sensitivity comes out mainly with people. I have a social quota that I did not know was as small as it is. People tire me. I find people exhausting. Large groups of people are exhausting. A lot of people trying to talk to me at the same time is something I can't process very well. It's too much. You could say it goes to my introvert nature, because I am an introvert, something I've also talked about with my therapist. I am an introvert, so I'm sure that has something to do with it as well. However, my dealing with people and my able to be sensitive to subtleties is that I read people like books. I know people before they open their mouths. I can stand next to you and I can get the gist of your entire personality without you saying a word. It is tiring. It is frustrating because people usually see me as a dick when I decide not to interact with somebody because I already know them. And people might say, well, you can't read their minds, you don't know who they really are. I've never been wrong. So it's hard to say, well, yeah, maybe I am not giving them the chances and blah, 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 and I've never been wrong. It's difficult because it's hard to explain. People usually think I'm crazy or overly judgmental. And while my boyfriend is extremely supportive, at one point he actually did test me in a respectful way. He wasn't being disrespectful, but he was curious as to how accurate I am. And his friends that I really don't know too well, except for what he's told me or I might have met for a few minutes, and asked me to tell him about them. Anything and everything I knew. And I hit every single one on the head, good and bad. Friends that were hiding things. Friends that were trying to give off different personality traits than what they really have. Friends that lie. I knew them all. And it ended with him calling me a magic unicorn because I knew these people almost as well as he did, and I've never really met them. Some I haven't met at all. And it's not something that I'm proud of, and I don't really see it as a gift because it's one that people just see it as weird and crazy, but it's tiring because when I'm in a crowd or in a room with a lot of people, I know every single one of them. And it's something that I can't really explain, but if you are someone like that, if you are someone who's highly sensitive, you will understand what I mean. If someone that I care for is sad, or if something happens and it's something that I'm familiar with especially, I feel that emotion as intensely as they do. Same thing with anger, frustration, disappointment, hatred. I feel it the way they do. It's fully empathetic. The empathy of highly sensitivity is intense and it's emotionally draining. It's very strange to be able to say I understand and really mean I understand. It comes off like it's not always so serious either. When it comes to smells, I like gentle smells, natural smells. I do not like overly powerful smells. Floral smells I can't stand because they're usually too much. They're too perfumed. I like vanilla, like the smell of like rain. That's pretty. I just like simple, soft smells. Music I'm usually fine with if I'm in the mood for it. Music never bothers me, but it's the voices that do. Art, I am the weirdo that will cry in the middle of a museum. I do not like overly spiced food. Something that I've talked about with my boyfriend quite a bit because he is quite the cook. He loves Indian food. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with Indian food. Too spicy, and it's not, I don't mean heat. I mean, Indian food actually does not use a complementary palate. They use contrasting palates and flavors. So it's a very, very highly stimulating, complex food that I can't deal with very well. I'm sorry, Finn is barking like nuts. The same thing goes for movies and the like. There are movies that I will only ever watch once. Never watch them again because they completely emotionally wrecked me and I can't deal with them anymore. Those movies are Schindler's List, Amistad, that was awful, Saving Private Ryan, I never watched that one again. Those are the top three. Oh, Dumbo, never watched Dumbo again either. And it's not to say they're bad movies, they're fantastic movies. I just cannot emotionally deal with those movies. So yeah. This was just a quick rundown video of high sensitivity. It's something to look into if you feel like any of these are familiar to you in any way, and also just to kind of get off my chest what mine is too. I can always go more into it if you're interested, and I will, because like I said once and many times, the things that I go through, the things that I deal with, the things that make up who I am, while it is a pain in the ass, it does make me an asshole. I am not ashamed of them. So if you like this video, just give it a like. If you like to stick around, that'd be cool. Leave you friends, crazy friends. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to comment if you've ever heard of this. If you are this kind of person, or if you have any questions, let me know. And if there's enough questions, I'll make another video. Even if there's not questions, I'll probably still make another video because no rules. So yeah, also, self-plugging, that sounds weird. Don't forget to check me out on Etsy, Facebook, and Instagram. I'll have the links down below. I'll also have the links down below to a lot of information about highly sensitive people and Dr. Elaine Aron, who was the pioneer who really brought this forward as an actual study. Thanks for hanging out with me. Okay, bye.